Hello everyone, I'm the EFC and this is Blue Lines TV, and today I'm going to be bringing a video on the whole Diego Costa situation at the club at the moment in time. I want to give some level-headed thoughts and opinions on, my perspective on what's really happening, who's right, who's wrong, are they both wrong, are they both right, that kind of stuff. But before I do that, I'm going to leave a message by Andy, who just wanted to clarify to a lot of you guys that he won't be on the channel and he felt it was fair if everyone knew. So if you guys want to take the time out quickly to read this message, just pause the screen for a few seconds just to see it. But moving on with the video, I'm going to be talking about the Diego Costa situation at the moment. Now, we know that he had that interview with the Daily Mail yesterday night that was released today. And of course, he's still in Brazil, he's in his family home. The interviewer came and they were watching the Burnley game. And yeah, Costa was just basically giving his piece on the whole situation at Chelsea. And he wanted to say, first of all, that, of course he admitted that, yes, he did tell Conte, just as Conte was coming to the club, that he was considering going back to Atletico Madrid. He stated in the interview as well that he did want to sign a new contract in January, but felt that Conte had a plan in stopping the club from giving that to him. It's not the first time that the club have snaked giving a player the contract they wanted. I'm looking at Nemanja Matic here. Costa also admitted that when he received the text by Conte, he was with the Spain squad, he was in the middle relaxing with everyone in the room afterwards in the evening. He got the text and he was shocked, he couldn't believe it. He told all of his teammates around him and they too couldn't believe the situation as well. And this is one of the main reasons that really upset Costa, and this is why he's had this feud with the club so far. Costa admitted too that he's actually getting fined at this moment in time. He's getting fined every week. The club ordered him to go and train with the reserves and come back. He doesn't want to do that. He cares more about his happiness than money. He wants to go back to Atletico Madrid. He wants to force through that transfer and he wants to get it done quickly. Now, of course, I don't know how to feel about this whole current situation, but I'm going to give my thoughts on Diego Costa's side and I'm going to give thoughts on the club and Conte's side. Now, if I'm Diego Costa, it's just, you're coming after that terrible 15-16 season where everything was awful, and he's considering thinking, oh, Chelsea really the right environment for me with what's happening behind the scenes of this drama. Football's a short career. I'm not as happy as I thought I was. Maybe I want to go back to Atletico Madrid. I mean, it's not the first time that players have thought about leaving the club. Drogba was one back in his early days when he was acclimatising to the league and getting used to it. For the first 2 seasons, he wanted to leave. I wanted to move back to France. It happened too during that 15-16 season as well, with Courtois not committing his future to the club. The same thing with Eden Hazard. That's when rumours first started to come out about any potential transfer away from Chelsea, and a few other players. So it's understandable when things do go badly or when there's a terrible season, players consider their future and they decide, really, am I making the best choice in staying here? Now, of course, is it fair on Conte at the same time? No, because I'm sure he had plans with Costa in mind, but at the same time, Costa did let Conte know immediately. So it would have been a different scenario if maybe, Costa's announcing near the end or near the start of the season that he does want to leave and completely ruins the manager's plan. So that did give Chelsea time to look for potential replacements. And at the time, we were linked with Morata and Lukaku. All players really care about is winning. So if you start winning games, that's what really helps players consider their futures and consider their plans. This is why Courtois signed a new contract. This is why Hazard did the same thing. And this is what Costa wanted to do in January. But as he's saying in his interview, he feels that Conte played a part in preventing that. Now, looking through Conte and the club side, if I'm Conte, you're a manager, you're looking at your tactical system, you're thinking, even though Costa's a fantastic striker, is he necessarily that player that really complements my front three and how I want to play? If you're just looking at it at a purely analytical point and, a footballing point of view, then yeah, I'd agree. Costa's a fantastic striker, I love the guy, but with how Conte wants the team to play at the moment, I don't think he complements it to its full potential. Of course, it could give you a question. I mean, should we really be playing with a front three like that then if all of our strikers can't do that? That's something for you guys to think about. But, this is where a lot of the arguments then started to happen, of course. Now, trying to piece things together a little bit, Costa's saying around January he wanted to sign a new contract. This happened to be around the time where reports of him leaving to China were first coming out. And why do we know that? Well, that was because Conte said in a training ground bust up with him, F off and leave to China then. So that's understandable. Of course, there was no real news or stories suggesting that Costa wanted to go to China. You know, looking through Costa's side again, he's thinking, after that January bust up, I thought our relationship was getting better. You know, I was starting to score some goals near the end. Our relationship was getting better. You can see a lot of images of them hugging each other and embracing. Costa's probably thinking, you know, this was an argument we had. It's in the past. We've forgotten about this. We've moved on. I can probably understand why he'd feel a bit shocked, considering that he just got a text where he's thinking, oh, this is really out of the blue. I know Conte has said this before. He probably hasn't mentioned anything since. So randomly be told by text that he wasn't wanted. Is it really the most respectable way of dealing with a situation like that? I'm not too sure. Maybe if Conte had, reinforced to Costa that you won't be part of the plans. There's a difference between mentioning it than not mentioning it at all for like another 6 months. So I could understand that. You know, just ignoring the football side, pretend that was your employer. You know, would you necessarily feel happy that, you felt like you're getting a random resignation all of a sudden that came out the blue? I mean, you wouldn't be happy because obviously, players got their security and things like that. Now, Costa's thinking, oh, if you don't want me, make it easy for me to go to Atletico Madrid. Now, it seems like there's some difficulties. On the one hand, I'm thinking, well, Atletico are going to buy Lacazette for 50 million. Aren't they going to pay that much money for Costa? But at the same time, they're thinking, well, we've already signed this guy for 1 million or something. We're not going to be paying a premium price now, especially when we know that Chelsea don't want him, and he's not even fully fit at this moment in time. If anything, Chelsea are making it difficult. I just believe that if a player isn't happy, wants to go, or if the club doesn't want a player, wants him to go, just let him go. This whole drama and situation could be avoided. Chelsea missing out on an extra 10 million euros, will it make a difference anyway? Because that's just going to go to agent fees anyway, if I'm being really cynical. I know that Chelsea are being painted out to be, the sympathetic figure. But if I'm being cynical again, I look at football clubs as like big business. So have that perspective in your mind. Yes, I know, you can care about profits and things like that. But then, a lot of that comes at the cost to actually caring about the person. Now, you could use that tons of examples. I mean, look at Kendi, for example. The guy was in Newcastle, about to join them, got called back last minute. And if you think about what's really the point, because yeah, he's going to come back to be a bench option. Is he going to play any part in the game? There's a 95% chance he won't. And it's kind of like, taking the piss a little bit. I mean, if your employer did that to you, or if you're a footballer, for example, and you're trying to, get your career started, you've got a Premier League club, you want to get involved quickly and see if there's a chance to even play any part in the next game, then having it taken away. What if Newcastle decide to end the deal now? Because, this is the reality of life in football. These things do happen. But let's not forget too, look at a lot of the lone player situations like Nathan Ake. Southampton and Everton wanted to sign him, but the deal that Chelsea wanted, 20 million plus a buyback fee, just really doesn't make any sense for clubs like Everton and Southampton, because that's how they make their money. Selling these players on for a massive fee. And from a sporting sense, let's say hypothetically Ake was playing for an Everton and then he's playing first team, showing what he can do with better players around him. What if he became a first choice international defender for Holland in the World Cup? And what if he has a fantastic World Cup and then, a potential bigger club's looking at him? That's just what happens in football. And when you've got these arbitrary means of always wanting to control these players, use them to make money, and just sometimes I do find a little bit immoral. It's not fair on them. This is why so many players have left this season, because a lot of them have grown sick and tired of how they're just seen as pound signs instead of actual players where, you want the club to care for you, give you the best chance in your career. There's been a ton of times of Chelsea just not doing that, especially this season. So I think it would be a bit hypocritical by us fans to really sympathise with Chelsea and really feel sorry for this whole Diego Costa situation. If anything, clubs are constantly doing things like this to players. Football really is a dog-eat-dog kind of business. Like I was saying, from Chelsea's standpoint, the coach doesn't want him, and he's explained why in tactical reasons why he doesn't want him. And I understand it, because Costa really doesn't get the best out of our front three, playing the system and setup that Conte wants at this moment in time. Forcing him to come back and train with the reserves as punishment, yeah, I guess I'd do that. But the club are always ridiculously harsh. How often have the club sent players to train in the reserves that they didn't want, like Malouda and Anelka? Look what they did to Dominic Solanke. they didn't find him a good loan club. He didn't want to sign a new contract because Solanke wanted to get first team assurances. He wanted to have an actual real proper chance, which the club didn't want to give. So of course Solanke refused that, and then they stopped an 18-year-old, 19-year-old kid from playing for an entire year, which really morally I don't really agree with. And as a teenager, you don't have to be so brutal and harsh. Especially, for a kid to miss out on a year of development isn't really fair, especially when he was playing, first team football at a professional level league. There's so many examples of Chelsea doing that. I mean, the recent situation with Lewis Baker going to Middlesbrough, a guy that had one of the best loan spells of all these players. They weren't able to get him a Premier League team, and they were just leaving him there until there was actually no available option in England for him. So now he's being forced to go to Middlesbrough and take a step down. Is that really fair on his career in a sporting sense? I don't necessarily think so. It's a situation like this the club should be doing better in. So of course Costa, you could say, he's in the wrong. I know a lot of people strongly disagree with the fact that he reported everything so blatantly and so quickly to the press. But at the same time, if your employer just told you over text that I don't need you anymore, you're gonna leave, would you necessarily just take that on the chin and be happy? Especially if you think that you've nipped everything in the buds back in January, the manager just made no mention of it, and just to get a text message completely out of the blue, again, I can see where Costa's coming from, and I'd probably feel the same, because you guys might not know, but I could be a little bit of a hothead myself, I can't lie. But anyway, you guys, that's just my thoughts on the whole Diego Costa situation. What do you think about what's happening? Do you think the club are right for what they're doing? Do you think they should sympathise and let Costa leave? Because it seems like, in modern day football, clubs have too much control over players of where they can go, where they can't go. And it's always because of money, 5 million differences, 10 million differences. Especially times we're living in today, it's not that much of a big difference to keep a player there. But it seems like club politics plays a bigger part than players' careers. And is it necessarily fair on the players who, they're the ones who are bringing all the money into football? They're bringing the sponsors, the fans and everything. Should clubs have so much control over them where it makes it harder for them to do what they do? That's an interesting question. I'd like to hear your guys' thoughts in the comment section below. You guys, this is my video on the whole Diego Costa situation at the moment. Like I said in the comment section, I want to hear your thoughts. Let's keep them constructive here. Let's not get too tribalistic. Let's be serious. We don't own Chelsea. Diego Costa isn't our brother or dad or anything like that. We don't have to take it too personally. Let's try and think things outside of the books and be as level-headed as we can. Anyway, you guys, thank you for watching my video today. I'm going to be releasing a Transfer Daily video early in the afternoon tomorrow. Follow me on Snapchat. Follow me on Twitter. That's Blue Lines TV Snapchat. That's NiniFC on Twitter. Thank you guys for watching today's video. I'll see you later.